There we go. All right. Hi, Leo. Well, we are on here recording. I want to say thank you to all of the parents that have joined us tonight. Obviously, we would much rather be meeting in person with each one of you, but with everything going on, this is our safest option. We'd really been thinking about how can we bring the environment to you. We wanted to talk about the different areas of the classroom. And then we kind of got to thinking, well, geez Louise, some of these parents haven't even gotten to see inside of the classrooms because we haven't allowed parents in the classroom since March, which is insane. And so a lot of our parents, especially those that had come from Maple Street, haven't even gotten to see in the classroom and all the in-depth areas. So we thought that, you know what, let's start with the basics because that is our theme this year, back to the basics. Let's start with the basics, like getting to show you the classroom up close and personal. So I want to start our meeting just kind of giving you, some of you may have heard this more recently, whereas others, it may have been a while since you've heard this, but what is Montessori all about and how did it start? So Montessori was originally designed by Dr. Maria Montessori back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. She was one of the first women in Italy to graduate from medical school. And they're kind of like, what do we do with this woman? So this woman started working in a hospital with special needs children. And she had the idea that the more hands-on the activities could be, the more senses the children could use, the more likely they'd be able to internalize and process that material. So she started introducing them to these children, and she saw it worked so wonderfully for those children that she's like, wow, if it works for these children, there's no reason why this shouldn't work for all children. So she took that concept and moved into a lower income part of Rome where the kids were just left to fend for themselves. They were on their own, which then sparked another idea of, okay, let's teach these kids how to take care of themselves, which is where the idea of practical life skills come from. Her first classroom actually had 50 to 60 children in it with a variety of ages ranges, and it was like a science experiment. She observed the children, she saw what worked, what didn't work, she made changes, added in more materials, and the children started thriving. The word started spreading about the Montessori philosophy, and obviously over the years, it's been curtailed down and changed and adapted for ages 6 weeks all the way through high school. So we're going to take a look, obviously, a really important piece of the Montessori philosophy is the environment. The teachers are taught to observe the children to see what they need so that they can prepare the environment so that all of the materials are there for the children to naturally develop on their own. And so the teachers help to guide or direct them on their natural path of learning. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to start with our Nido classroom. Nido meaning nest. So our nest classroom. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Sarah. She's going to give you guys a quick look around the classroom, talk to you a little bit about the things that are happening in there, and then we'll move on to the toddlers. All right, here we go, Miss Sarah.
Hi.
Take it away.
How are you? Come on in. First off, we have the walking bridge, which is really important for children to learn how to do stairs and fear of falling down. It's really important that they hurdle that emotion so they know what's safe and what's not safe. We also have a smaller version that's softer and it's less of a fall. It's what they start crawling on so that when they're at home on stairs, they know what to do. We'll move on to the table here. Usually in the morning, I'll have some new workout so the children can come in and go straight to work. We have an example of their lunch right here. We have chairs that have arms for when they first learn how to sit at the table with their lunch tray, their spoon and fork, their towel. And when they're first learning how to eat a bib, when they move on and they have had more practice, they're able to not wear a bib anymore and not make a huge mess. We've also got a tray for water and milk and also little pourers so that they can pour their own. Really exciting. Moving on over here, we've got hand washing, a stool, and a sink at their level so that they can be more independent about it. This is also where they go to look in the mirror to clean up their faces after mealtime. Got books and a little chair for them. They grab a book and sit in the chair and read a book pretty independently.
So this would be our reading area here. And then over here, Miss Sarah was pointing out the bridge. This is the gross motor space.
Mhm.
This space changes depending on the needs of the children. So right now they have some very active friends, active climbers. They also have the pickler triangle and ramp that they can bring out and interchange. They've got push toys. They have riding toys. So these things change depending on what the interests are of the children.
Over here we have non-mobile babies. So babies that are not quite rolling over or crawling or moving around, they have a mirror to look at themselves in it with. And these toys change out depending on what's interesting them right now. On this side,
I've never seen over here. I don't come in the classroom very often.
this side is kind of more like a chill spot for the older kids. This is where they can kind of come and just fiddle with some sound sticks and toys that make sound. Our work shelf here, like we said, we've got a variety of children right now. So the oldest one is about 13 months old and the youngest is about 6 months old. So we've got things down here that they can pull and grab at and make noise. These are a lot of fun. And we've got nice little shape thing that they can open and close, which some of our kids are really into opening and closing right now. And again, opening and closing, making sure that we've got wood and plastic and metal, and inside here cloth is really important for sensorial growth.
And then the balls, right?
Yes, basket of balls. These are so much fun. Lots of different sounds in here, balls that can come apart and they can put back together. It's really important to have that open in play.
Then over here, I'm sure as you all are aware, you know, the space had changed. So each child has their own crib or they have their own nap mat on the floor. So the children will bring those out, or the teachers will bring those out for the children as needed. So we have our nice little napping area. The lights are dimmed on this part of the classroom, so that it's a little bit darker, or during rest time, the teachers will actually turn the lights off and have the natural light coming in because we have those nice big windows over here.
Mhm.
And of course, you know, you guys don't get close enough to see them, but we do have our pictures on the wall of all of our kiddos in the class. So those are always fun. And if you note, we only have 8 children in the class, but there are 12 pictures because there are also baby pictures of the infant teachers in here as well. Over in this space, this is an area you guys don't ever get to see. We have our diaper changing. And this is also where the teachers have their sanitation stations set up. I like that. So they have their washing station, their rinsing station, their disinfecting, and their drying rack in here. So you see, so their materials in here right now are getting sanitized and disinfected 4 times during the day. What is this, Miss Sarah?
Oh, this is extra towels that we have to replenish the hand washing. And then we also have a basket that's for the older children. And these are language cards. So they're just going over the matching and
Their body
the words,
parts, which
body
then,
parts.
and you see you have those in front of the mirror. So then that way they can see their own body parts in the
Yes.
mirror as well. Fantastic. Also in the infant room, this is the teacher space, but they do teach the children. The children do throw away their dirty laundry. So they bring it and drop it in the little slot for the dirty laundry basket. So, all right. Is there at this time anybody that wants to see anything closer in this classroom? Speak up now. And I will happily show you. Looks like we have more older friends with us. All right. Well, thank you, Miss Sarah, for letting us join you and come into your classroom.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, guys.
Let's get you turned around. There we go. All right. So if at some point there is something you want to see a little bit closer, maybe I went a little too fast past it, please unmute yourself and go ahead and say something. We will be taking questions at the end of the night, but if I'm going past something, you're like, wait, I want to see that, go back, stop me right away so I can get to it. So you can actually see what you're looking at. All right, and we're going to head into our toddler classroom with Miss Allie. Hi, Miss Allie.
Hi. We're actually going to start right out of the classroom.
Excellent.
Because this is something new that we haven't really had a chance to talk about. So we are bringing back the boards. We're going to get rid of the daily sheet papers and just have the boards. It's a lot easier for us toddlers, teachers. So you have on here the child's name, how well they ate, and the times that they slept. And we'll update that daily.
Do you erase it that night or is it still available the
It's
next
still
morning?
available the next morning. I usually erase it right before nap time the next day.
Okay, so if anybody misses it the night before, you're able to see it the next morning.
Welcome, come on in. The very first thing that we always say, especially with our children's sense of order, is inside outside shoes. So all of our inside shoes are right now in this bookshelf, and then all of our outside shoes and our boots will go on the boot trays. And so we're working on having the children put things where they go, but they get a little confused. So we're still working on that. And then every child has their own individual cubbies. With children and toddlers, they have to have their sense of placement. And so the cubbies won't change on them, as well as their chairs. So every child has their own cubby. They have their own chair.
Our chairs are all labeled with their name, so they'll always sit in the same spot for meal times.
And then over here is our lunchbox shelf. So this is, again, another sense of order and placement of where all their stuff goes. So when they come in, they'll come change their shoes, they'll put all their stuff in their cubbies, they'll hang up their coats, and they'll put their lunch boxes on the shelf. And then they go over to the sinks. And this is where we wash our hands. So with the sink, I'm sorry, can you still hear me? Okay. So with the sink, they learn how to turn both sinks faucets on. They will get their soap. We teach them to put it into the sink so they have some pressure to push down the lid. And then they learn how to wash their hands. And then they also learn how to dry their hands with the towels. And these ones are the clean ones, and these ones are the dirty ones. And we
I note left to right.
yeah, left to right, thank you. And then also the different color baskets also teaches them, like, these ones are the clean ones, the green baskets are the dirty ones. So that's for our sink. When it comes to the areas of the classroom, we have 5 areas of the classroom. So we have practical life, sensorial, math, language, and art. Practical life in the toddler classroom is the biggest area. Not only do we have practical life, but we also have our waterworks, and we also have dishwashing. Now, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna give them a little
No, go
close up of,
ahead.
so we've got baby, tell me like, what do we have out here?
So right now, okay, let me back up 2 seconds. So everything on the shelf, it goes left to right, easiest to hardest, top to bottom. So top to bottom, left to right, easiest to hardest. So actually right now we have a sensorial box over here. We like to keep it in the waterworks like area, not that we have any water in it, but it is very messy and it's very hands-on. And so it's a good control of error of being able to keep it over here. But Amy, next to you, we have baby washing. This is one of our harder works. It has 15 steps from start to finish. The next one that we have, oh, I'm so sorry.
You're good.
So the next one we have is just a straining work. So they'll take their water, they'll pour it into the bowl, they'll get their objects that float, and they'll strain them back and forth. And then after this, we have our scrubbing work. And so again, they'll take their brush and they'll scrub the brush. And after or underneath every table is a bucket. So when they're all done, all the children know that they have to pour out all of their water into their buckets and pour it onto the sink. Now, the nice, amazing thing that we have added is we have added a waterworks shelf.
Oh,
So these works is what we take to the table. So this is work. So not only do they have the opportunity working with these 3 waterworks, they have the opportunity working with all 9 of the waterworks. No, just kidding. I can't count today. I'm too tired. Okay.
it's end of the day.
Yeah, it's in
But I am going to go over and just show them some of the practical life shelves. So you'll notice, so we've got our cubbies, our lunchbox shelf, and then we move into our practical life areas, the first area of the class that we move into. As Miss Allie mentioned, this is one of the largest areas of the classroom in the toddler classroom because this tends to be what they gravitate towards the most. So all of the shelves are very full. Because there are a lot of practical life works out there available for the kids, and it's one of their favorite areas.
This is also where we teach OCCI. This is where they learn like their order, the concentration, the coordination, and their independence. So this is the foundation of Montessori for toddlers. Over here on this shelf is where they learn how to set their tables for both snack and for lunch. So I'm just going to quickly, for snacks, each table will have a basket, and we teachers have the control of error of putting, we only need, at my table I have 6 children, so only 6 cups, 6 napkins, 6 spoons. So if there's one that's missing after everyone has had the basket, then we know, oops, someone now has 2 napkins or 2 cups. For lunchtime, they will get their placemat, a cup, a plate, a cup, a spoon, a fork, and also a napkin. And then they'll go over to the lunchbox shelf and grab their lunchbox. And they do all this on their own. And we teach this by doing everything basically hand over hand. That is the easiest way to explain it, basically. It's just, we do a lot of hand over hand with the toddlers. So,
Right.
so if someone's like, oh, we're gonna go and do this work, we're like, oh, come back, let's go get your placement. And so we walk them hand over hand. Any questions so far? No? Okay. So the next placement we have is our math shelves. Again, one of the great benefits that we were able to do with combining the two classrooms is we added a 6 through 9 shelf for math. So this one is all of our 1 through 5 works. This is all of our 6 through 9 works. So now we don't actually have to go over to the teacher desk and like, oh, I need to put this like math work together really quickly or grab it out of the cabinet. The older ones who are ready and available, it's available to them. Now you will see that we only have 4 items on the 6 through 9 shelves because we have a really young class. And so they're more likely going to do the 1 through 5. Sometimes they explore with the 6 through 9, but we have a very young class. And once they get older, that will change. You'll see hardly anything 1 through 5 and mostly everything 6 through 9.
Makes
So this
sense.
just kind of goes to the classroom. And the next area have our language shelf. Again, we're kind of combining the two classes. We were able to bring in more language shelf, or more language works, which is amazing. I love language. So here is when you have your puzzles, you'll have your object to object matching, object to card, card to card.
We have our reading area here. I see we've got 2 separate baskets, 2 separate chairs for friends to come over and sit and read whenever they'd like.
I'm gonna look at the front of it really quick. Sorry. It's more of the hard, challenging work, so the kids absolutely love it. So one work that I've been suggesting to parents if they're like, "Ooh, I need a work," is you can go print out these cute little snowflakes, and then just get them a magnifying glass, and they love looking at the crystals underneath in the snowflakes. That's one work that we've been telling everyone, like, "Ooh, if you want to work at home, work on this one." But here we have sequencing, mommies and babies, we have mystery bags, and we have sounds. And then over here is our art shelves. Again, with combining the classes, we were able to put out so much more challenging work. So right now we have the 2 gluing. They are absolutely loving the Play-Doh with the rolling pin. I'd never thought about having the rolling pin. It's a great idea. They love it. If you need something at home, keep them occupied for a while, give them a rolling pin.
All right, and then this is the second room that we added in that a lot of you, and probably none of you have actually seen. So this is also the door to outside right here. So student walk. You can see here that we have like the straight path walkway here. So all the EC students will walk here to go out to outside. But as we come into this back, we have another teacher table here. And this is moving into their sensorial area and where they have line.
So welcome. This is where we have line. Again, with that sense of order, we make sure that every child has their own star so that they know where they fit in place. And does someone have a question?
I don't think so.
Okay. So
I was just going to say, so you notice here each has a star so they know exactly where they're supposed to sit. So it helps to give them that sense
Mama,
of order.
what
They're
color
not
is
just
your
kind of
star
sitting
at
on
school? Yellow.
So over here, I just bumped my head. So over here we have the pink tower and the brown stairs. So that's usually where we start with practical life. Or I'm sorry, sensorial. And then we have nesting dolls. We have over here. So I'm sorry, let me back up. So with sensorial, it does everything with our senses. So we'll have the different weights. We have different dimensions. We have different shapes. We have different sounds. We have different smells in here. And then we move into our colors and different sorting of our colors, our color boxes, map, and then the shapes and stuff like that. And so we use this area for a sensory room because this is the biggest room where we could have so many rugs laying down. We love this area in there, but it was really big work. So we really,
Can you tell us a little bit about the rugs that we're using now?
So right now we're actually using donuts. They're easy to clean.
Why is a lot of the sensorial works rug works?
Because again, they're so big, and that this is their area that they can also disrespect the other children that they when you see a rug out, they have to walk around that child and that child. This is children. They have to wait.
Can I see over here? Rafa, would you mind muting yourself, please? Over here, you see that Miss Allie set out their boards that they use for line time. So in the morning, they call line usually around 9 o'clock. So that's why we want to make sure that all of our kiddos are here by 8:45, no later. So they'll all come in here, they'll sit on a star, and then the teachers will begin their line time, doing their on 30s of the week, the seasons as well, reading books, singing songs, things like that. And if you notice, when I stand back, they're able to make a nice large circle, so that when they do their singing, jumping, dancing songs, there's lots of space for the children as well to move around.
Miss Amy, your video is gone, and I don't know if it's just me.
Is anybody else having problems? I can see Miss Allie.
Now it's back.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's my connection. I'm so sorry. Okay. Anything else in the back class? Allie? Or take a peek in the bathrooms.
So again, with combining, we were able to do one bathroom diapers, one bathroom all pottiers. So this is our potty bathroom. In here, we have the toilet, we have the mirror so they can watch themselves get dressed. And then each child has their own bucket of clothes, and some extra clothes, just to be safe. So these are all of our pottiers. And once our diaper children transition into pottiers, we'll move them over there. And then this are our diapers. Let's see, do they have the opportunity if they would like to go on the toilet for beginning potty training? Stage is one, we usually say, as well as they still have the mirror so they can learn how to push their pants down, push or pull their pants back up, and take off their diaper in between. We do encourage as much independence in the toddler classroom as possible, and as well as much involvement as they want. So if we're like, hey, I was like, Priya, do you want to push your pants down? And she's like, no. And I was like, okay, do you want to help me try? Yes. So we just encourage a lot of trying. So one thing I just wanted to add is we have lots of plants in the classroom because we want the classroom to be as homey as possible. And one thing that we also encourage is washing the plants and watering the plants. So we always take little cotton balls and wash these leaves. And then we just take small little pictures and they get to water them. So that's something else to be on.
We also have now, since we've combined this space, we have more room. We have 2 dishwashing tables. So after lunchtime, they have dishwashing station here and they have dishwashing station there. So during all meal times, each group of kiddos will sit in the same spot with the same teacher. There's one teacher assigned to each grouping of tables. So they all get to sit together, eat family style. During meal times, these 2 tables come together. All right. Is there anything anybody else wanted to see more up close in the toddler classroom? If not, we will head over to the early childhood classroom. Thank you, Miss Allie, for letting us come in.
Bye, guys.
All right, and we'll head over to the early childhood classroom. So we have made, just like in all of our spaces, we have made some adjustments as the year has gone on. So right now we have one larger class of early childhood classroom or of early childhood children, but they have access to both classrooms. So they have lots of space. So when you come into the classroom, they have access to the front classroom.
Hi.
The door will be
Hi,
kept
Miss
open.
Amy.
Hi.
Your video is very unstable. It's on and off.
I am so sorry. I don't know if there's anything I can do about that except turn my video off, and that's not going to help. All right, so hopefully we'll get a little bit better. Please let me know if it keeps happening. I'm so sorry. All right, we're gonna walk into the early childhood classroom now. I'm going to flip you guys around. For those of you who don't have early childhood children, it's the first door right when you come in from the lobby. So when you come in, and here is Miss Mona. Hello, Miss Mona. Are we going to be starting in the front or the back?
We're going to go ahead and start in the back with our practical life.
Okay, great. All right, I'm going to go ahead and kind of give you guys a quick overview of cubbies and the space. Both the front and the back classrooms do have their own bathrooms with little toilets. Both classrooms have their own hand washing sinks. You notice the doors being kept open because they have access to both, so they get the free flow. The art, practical life, and sensorial areas are in the back classroom. The math, language, and cultural areas are in the front classroom. So during work time, that door does remain open, and then they get to move back and forth with one teacher in the front, one teacher in the back, and then one teacher that free flows. I am gonna just walk right around here. And so, so here's the door that's usually closed during the daytime when you drop off, but this is also where this back classroom is where they have their lunches. So you notice they have their shelves of all of their items for helping set their place settings. All right, Miss Simone, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, so we'll start here in the practical life area. I like to call practical life the backbone of the early childhood classroom, because when they come in at 3, and actually any age, every lesson starts working left to right, top to bottom, all of the their basic skills. So if you come over here, we've got items for self-sufficiency. So buttoning, zipping, we've got these which help build hand strength and concentration. All of these things in the practical life area work on order, their sense of concentration, eye-hand coordination, and definitely their sense of independence, which is what we strive for in this classroom, because that's what they really want. So some of these things, for instance, in our opening and closing lesson, we have a container, which oftentimes we see in lunches. So it's good for them to be able to practice opening their own things, and it's a good way for them to feel successful. We have something for everyone in this class, in this area. So we have large items here from transferring with the hands, and we start showing them, I'll show you this way, with 3-finger grasp, so as to prepare for holding a pencil. And we show them to do it left to right to transfer everything from left to right. And once everything is in this side, they turn it clockwise. Always we focus, so we do our best to get them to turn it clockwise to prepare for reading a clock. The shelves also go from simple to complex, left to right, and top to bottom to prepare for tracking and reading. So we have spooning and pouring and tonging. All of those things are for building independence. They are for that concentration, and you might find, you might notice that we do have a lot of glass items here. And part of that is because we give the children the freedom to use those things, and they're, real life items. You have glass bowls at home, you have pitchers and those sort of things. So why not give them the opportunity? So we also have large water lessons. This is a hand washing lesson, and they have an apron, they have the bucket where they fill. We use the pitcher, and then we empty the pitcher into the bucket. But it's they have soap to wash their hands with, and a towel to dry, and then a sponge to dry the whole area when they're finished. And there are other large water lessons that we do, table scrubbing and chair scrubbing and floor scrubbing. And it might kind of seem tedious, but children find a great deal of satisfaction in purposeful work, something that contributes to the community. So that's why we have a lot of those things.
Did you want to touch on the art while we're over here?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All right, so we have our art shelf. We have different types of media and markers and pencils and crayons here. We also have watercolor. I want to point out here, we have our cutting work, which is very unique in a Montessori classroom. So we have different types of cutting. We have just a blank strip for the children just to practice snipping. And of course, that also works on that open close practice. Then we also have these printed strips. Like this one has 2 snips. So they learn to cut it once and then turn the paper and cut it twice. So it's also that fine motor skills.
Just something very easily that they could make at home and do it at home.
Absolutely.
Also, since I'm in here, we noticed that we've got a set of cubbies in both classrooms. How do you have those divided up? Like whose cubbies go where?
We have, because we use this back classroom for sleeping, we have the children who nap their cubbies in here. So it's easily accessible. Once they wash their dishes, we have that set up over here. After nap time, they use the restroom and their blankets are ready and they're easily accessible. So, so that they can just get their stuff and go down for nap and just have that time to relax.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more? Why do we have the nappers in the back classroom? Parents don't know.
Because they nap here. I mean.
But why the back classroom? Why aren't we napping
Oh,
in a
I'm
whole space?
I'm sorry. Okay, because what we've done is there are children who obviously don't sleep. So we want to give them the opportunity to do more in the afternoon. So although all of the children do rest, we have a group of children who do sleep. And then this other older, you tend to be older, group of children will rest and then they get up for another work cycle. So usually that tends to be the older children and they're doing more complex lessons that take up more time and more space. So it's also very beneficial for them to have some of the children not in there so they have more room and, you know, we have more one-on-one opportunities to answer questions and have discussions as that older group developmentally are capable of doing.
Wonderful. And note, parents, like I'm sure you've noticed, there are no windows back here because this is our tornado shelter. So in the event of a tornado, this is the safe space that we come to. This is also why it's kind of ideal for nappers because it tends to be a little bit darker. They turn lights off with just some lamps. And so it's dark and kind of cool back here and they play some quiet music for the nappers. So hopefully those that do sleep actually get a really nice nap in for you guys for when they go home with you.
All right, so let's go over to sensorial. This area is called sensorial because we use all 5 senses. Excuse me. A lot of these lessons have, the most basic ones have 10 pieces, which we call base 10. And that is for them to get used to the feel of 10. And we want to focus on that counting, you know, they have 10 fingers, 10 toes, 10 cubes in the practical, in the big tower, 10 cylinders in each of the cylinder blocks, 10 red rods, 10 brown stair, etc. So a lot of these have multi-purpose. This is, you know, size and shape discrimination, and it tapers down to the smallest. And these also go from the most challenging or the simple to complex. So if I look at this one down here, if you see, they're all the same width. They only have certain properties, but they decrease in size. So they go, they're a little more challenging and a little more challenging. And you might wonder, how is that more challenging? But it tends to get the child to slow down and be more observant of the properties of a thing, of something. So it's really fascinating to watch them work with this, especially if they take more than one out, then they can really concentrate and look at the different properties. And it's fun to see how they start working and learning with their observation skills and discerning which one might go in here, which one won't. So some of these lessons also have a prerequisite, so to speak. So this set is called the red rods. This is the prerequisite to a lesson in the math, on the math shelf, which we'll look at a little bit later. Here, they learn how to carry the red rods, they learn how to work with them, and there's different patterns that they can make with it. One of the favorites is they like to make little labyrinth, which is really beautiful and fun. But they have to learn how to use this first so that they know how to carry the lesson, so that once they get to the math, they'll be able to know how to carry it by rote, and then they can focus on the concepts of the math lesson that is. So it's really, I love how these lessons are connected. We also have a lot of geometry lessons. This is called binomial cube. This is an algebraic formula in physical representation. So for instance, this is b cubed. This represents b cubed. So these represent a binomial, and this one is the trinomial, which also represents that. So we have also another sense we're looking at is the sound cylinders. So again, another observation skill, listening skills, and they have different ways, different variations of doing this. So we have a blue set and a red set. They each have a match, and then as they get more proficient in matching the sounds, then the next step would be to grade them from the softest sound to the loudest sound. So that, again, they're fine-tuning that their listening skills. These here are these are smelling bottles. So we put like little essential oils or something, onion or something stinky and something beautiful. And they also have another match to do that again.
Then over here, this is where we have our peace corner and our reading area. So we have our peace shelf with quiet items for them to work on. And over here, we have our reading with lots of books. You notice like there's lots of tables. This is the area that they eat their lunch in. So they come and have their lunch in the back half of the classroom. This space has it's adaptable. So right now you notice that we have some shelves turned around because those are the materials that we have for a second classroom. So this space does have the option of having two separate classrooms with the door closed, or doing one larger classroom and free flowing between both of the spaces. So we have enough materials obviously for two full classrooms. That's why you notice some of the shelves are turned around because they're full of materials that we'd need for a second class.
Great. So we'll work on language. This is our pre-language area, which is a lot of naming things. So we have sorting, like this is our fruit basket and the vegetable basket. This is called figure to ground. And it also, if you see, it's also largest to smallest. So they will look at the cards and match which size is the correct fit. And that is preparing them to match a sound to the symbol. And we have sorting, and this is also a preparation for patterns where you're able to isolate a vowel or isolate the beginning sound or the end sound. And pegs, we like a lot of pegs, are colorful, and they have, again, that's another concentration skill. Puzzles, a lot of puzzles to build. Again, you complete the picture, but it's also preparation for building a word. And some of these types of lessons, you'll see different kinds of sorting cards. This one is a favorite, are insects and spiders. So we keep that out. And once we get into learning the alphabet, we get a lot of questions about the names of the letters. And the most important thing as far as language is concerned in Montessori classroom is using the sounds. We use phonetics because using the names of the letters gets confusing. And so we start out, these are textured, this is actual sandpaper. And we teach the child, this is and we trace it with 2 fingers, because once they learn how to trace it with 2 fingers, they'll have the ability to hold a pencil, and they'll already have that muscle memory in their mind of how to write it. And then they get more practice as they go forward. So we have the alphabet divided into 5 sets. And once they learn the first set, they'll learn the sound, and then they have little objects. Which of these starts with t, t, t? Turtle? So they're able to isolate. This is called I Spy, and there's just a variety of objects in here, which is a practice on them isolating the beginning sound. So we'll say, I spy with my little eye something that starts with d, 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 and so they go through and they find the dog. So that's a fun activity. They love to work on that. So once we have our sandpaper letters down, our first set, we start with movable alphabet. And these are some of our, some of these lessons we'll call parallel lessons, because you don't have to do one at a time, but sometimes they coordinate and you can use them. So we have the alphabet divided into 2 sets, and it's really large. This is the large movable alphabet because the letters are almost the same size as the sandpaper letters. So they're familiar with that already. And so what they'll do is we give them, let's spell mat, at. So they go through, we have 2 boxes because they're big. So they go through and they'll find each sound and lay it out on their rug from left to right. And they, kind of the joyful thing is they don't realize that they're already starting to read at that point. So they're isolating the letters, they pull them out, and I should have pointed that out, but the consonants are red, the vowels are blue. So again, they're getting multi-sensory cues. And at this age, the developmental level where the brain is just taking in so much, that is going to help them learn to read sooner because they'll isolate. And they'll notice when they get to the small movable alphabet, well, here's the vowels, they're easy to point out. They're easy to see. So as the children get going with the 3-letter words, we move them on as at their own pace. The whole classroom works at the child's individual pace. So if I have a 4-year-old and she can spell hospital, we're going to go ahead and do that. That's very exciting.
And please note, behind Miss Mona here is our medical grade air purifier. We do have one of those in every classroom. I didn't point them out, but that's what they look like. So if you see them, that's what they're there for, is helping to purify the air for the children while they're here. Okay, after language, we move into our math area.
All right, so like I said, here's the number rods that we had that were similar to the red rods. So you see it's the same exact lesson, they're just presented differently. So they'll already know how to carry it, they know how to use it, and then they're ready to go ahead and start counting and identifying. Again, we see sandpaper numbers here, so they already know how to work this type of lesson. And some of these, we have a lot of fun because not all children like to do these lessons. We have different ways, which is one of the things I get excited about, is that we can manipulate the lessons to interest a particular child. So if they're not really too into numbers, then they might be interested if we play a game with it. You know, okay, you have this number and you have this number. Who has 4? Let's find a small group of children and give them each a number. Let's find out who has 4. And then they can say, I have 4, I have 4. Or I'm sure many of you have heard about the game Knock Knock. That's a super fun game that they love. And they flip the numbers over and knock knock who's there. And they turn it over and name the number. So it's something, you know, you're still getting the same concept, but it's a different presentation. So as we go through math, each number, again, multisensory, has its own color. And this goes up through the elementary lessons. So we start out here with 1 through 9. And each, as I said, each number has its own color. And if you see, these are also self-correcting. So we see that we've got the triangle here. And if you have all the numbers in their correct place, they will make a triangle also. But sometimes, you know, it'll look funny and the child can do that, can fix it. That is a self-correcting lesson. And that is another way that the children can have their independence. So here we have a teens lesson here where this is introducing the 10 bar and the units. Instead of ones, we call them units. So as we go through and learn all the numbers and we get through the cycle of the teens and the tens, we work into place value, which is not decimals, but we work with the thousands. We get into thousands, hundreds, tens, and units. So as you see here, again, multi-sensory, each one has a color, and we have a pattern. So you know, if this were a bigger number, we'd have a comma here, and the unit repeats the same color pattern.
Beautiful. All right, and of course we have our bead cabinet, and correct me if I'm wrong, these are for the 45 layout.
This is for initially for 45 layout. Then we move on to bank game, which I will tell a child, go get 4,563. They have to remember that number, bring their tray. We call this the bank. They have to go to the bank, get the symbols, bring the quantity, and take it back to their rug and lay it out properly. So it's a good memory. It's got lots of activity, and it can be kind of tedious, but but that's the precursor to addition with golden beads. And one of the cool things about Montessori addition is that we don't start with 1 + 1, 1 + 2, 1 + 3. We do have that. Again, that's a parallel lesson, but the children are capable of starting addition in the thousands. And so we start with static addition, which is thumb 9 under 9. And then once they master that, then we go into dynamic addition, which is thumbs over 2.
Wonderful. And then in the center here, this is all is their cultural work. This is also where they have their line time every day. So the children will sit outside of the rug. They do call line around 9 o'clock, which is why it's so very important for everybody to be here no later than 45. So they're ready, all their things are put away and they're ready to start their day. Did you want to tell us anything about our cultural area here?
Yeah, culture encompasses geography, science, botany, biology, and I lost my train of thought. We start with, again, the basics with plants and animals, living and non-living. This area is full of parallel lessons. So while they're doing plants and animals and living and non-living, they're also learning about land and water. This is again another sandpaper texture, multi-sensory thing. So they learn about the land and the water, and then not only is it textured, but it's also colored. So each continent has its own color. And then they move on to a flat map, and the pieces are about the same size as the ones on the globe. So again, like the language, they're familiar with that already. So we're introducing, this is also a huge vocabulary lesson. Even though this is science, they're learning not just branches and tree and roots, they're learning stipules and veins and margin and carapace. They're learning all these huge words and they get to see it. And these cards are really beautiful because they isolate. You can see the tail here. So they have the black and white picture, but again, kind of like the vowels, that each body part is isolated so they can see exactly what they're looking at. They may not be able to read it, but because the picture is the way it is, they know what card that is. So again, another part of independence.
Also in this classroom, they also use yoga mats. However, in this classroom, the yoga mats each have their own names on them. So the children, because they work on identifying their names and recognizing their names during line time, when they come to get their own mat, they have to look for their mat that has their name on it. Again, we're using those yoga mats so that they're a little bit easier to clean and sanitize and disinfect daily. Of course, you know, floors and everything are all sanitized and disinfected throughout the day as well. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add, Miss Mona?
Let's see. Well, you mentioned the names. One of the things I like to do personally is when we have a new student or once we have students, I make sure they have a name tag with their name on it and on the back with their last name on it, because to me, it's important for them to know what their name looks like, but also know what their last name looks like.
I love that. So smart.
And you'd be surprised at how soon they pick up on that. I mean, we have some new transitioners that they've only been here a week and a half, and they're already recognizing their own names, which is really exciting. But that's just a little tidbit for me that I like to do for the children. I think it's exciting.
So then all of our full day kids, correct? And non-nappers have their cubbies up front. They have their own space for their lunch boxes. And I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with how we take temperatures at the door when they arrive here. So hopefully this has given you the opportunity to get a little more in-depth glance of what our classrooms now look like since you're not able to come in. Does anybody have any questions for any of the teachers? I'm sorry, I've been informed that the video has been a little shaky and unstable. I'm sorry, I wish there was something I could do about that technology. You gotta love it until it doesn't work, right? If anybody has any questions, please feel free to jump in right now. You can just unmute yourself. All three of the teachers are still here, so any age group, they can answer questions for you. I don't know that we've got any questions. If you guys did miss this, I'm so sorry. It will be posted on our YouTube channel within the next couple of days. So if you'd like to go back and take a look at it, or if the video did freeze up on you, hopefully on the recording, it wasn't frozen. It didn't ever look frozen on my end. So hopefully the recording came through. I just want to say thank you so much to all of you that were able to join us live tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and obviously at any time, if you ever have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to the teachers at drop off and pickup time, or emailing them is also a super great way of getting a hold of the teachers as well. So if nobody else has any questions or needs anything, I say thank you very much. You guys all enjoy your Monday night, and let's hope we have a great rest of the week. Thank you all so much for joining. You guys take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Everybody says-
Bye.